Speaking to a live public audience for the very first time is Colin Hortman.
Hello everybody, good evening. And Meredith, thank you, truly. I was so inspired to write a story, and it feels really good to be able to share with all of you tonight. Good evening. I want to start by telling you a little bit about my parents. My dad, Mark, grew up in North Carolina, smart, funny, and the kind of person that people felt at ease with immediately. My mom, Melissa, was raised to be a true Minnesotan, determined, hardworking, and insightful. They met in their 20s, volunteering together in Washington, D.C. Fast forward 30 years, fulfilling careers, a home they loved, 2 grown, healthy adult children, and their golden retriever, Gilbert. Rejected from service dog training because he was just a little too friendly. And maybe a little too stubborn. He surely had my mom trained. My mom made her margaritas with fresh squeezed limes. My dad drank his rye whiskey on frozen cherries. My parents were dorky, deeply in love, and at ease with each other in a way I've spent my whole life trying to understand, and now will spend the rest of my life trying to hold on to. My mom was hilarious. She would go on these disco skis, cross-country skiing while jamming out to 70s and 80s disco music, especially ABBA. My dad built robots to help with chores and provide unwanted help in my mother's garden. And he trained Gilbert to ring the doorbell to come inside. Gilbert got the best of this whole life. He was my mom's 3rd kid, always underfoot while she baked, always out in the garden with her, always splooted under her desk when she was deep at work. He was the bestest boy. On June 18th, 2025, I pulled into the driveway of my parents' house, my childhood home, for the first time since they had been assassinated only 4 days prior. From the driveway, I could see bullet holes. The front door had been boarded up, so I had to enter through the garage. Inside, the tile was scorched with burn marks. The carpet must have caught on fire for a second. Shattered windows in every single room. Every step forward kicked up tear gas. It made my eyes burn and my throat close to the point where I cried out in pain. I didn't know a home could look like that. I didn't know my home could ever look like that. But then I got to the kitchen. The kitchen was the only place that wasn't destroyed. A cutting board with half a lime and a paring knife, 2 glasses set near the sink. One had 2 squeezed lime wedges dried out by then. The other was stained red at the bottom. Must have been cherries. On top of the toaster oven, out of Gilbert's reach, a fresh homemade rhubarb custard pie sat half-eaten. 2 plates with crumbs still left in the sink. I felt destruction in every other room of that house, but what I saw in that kitchen was love. The love of a good drink after a long day, the love of great food made from scratch, and the love of sharing it with each other on an ordinary night. I took a picture to preserve what I could. Since that day, I've known what I needed to do to find peace. I needed to go back to that kitchen. I needed to make my mom's margarita and have a whiskey the way my dad had his, and bake the pie that Gilbert loved to steal. I needed to sit inside that last moment of love that they shared. For 8 months, I couldn't. For 8 months, I fought an insurance company while trying to grieve. When the settlement finally came and the house was finally cleaned, I still hadn't done what I felt I needed to do. That stings in its own way, the hopeless anger of waiting until the practical nightmare was resolved, the paperwork of death handled. I knew that this insurance process, it failed my family and it was broken for other Minnesotans too. So while I waited, I started the work of fixing it. I testified before the state legislature. I advocated for a bill that would require law enforcement to disclose the chemical agents used in a home. Another bill will ensure that public insurance companies that use our tax dollars pay for the damage they are required by law to pay for, and make sure families that go through something like mine aren't left without a roadmap. Like my grief, this is a work in progress. About a month after the house was finally cleaned, about a month ago today, my wife Alina and I went back to unpack. We'd been in the house a handful of times since I first witnessed the aftermath of June 14th, sometimes for contractors or insurance agents, sometimes to guide various family members through their grief. Several times because I just wanted to sit there. It was never easy, never pleasant, and for a long time it wasn't safe because of the chemicals. But I got more capable with each visit. This time, the contents of my parents' lives were just sitting there in boxes, packed out, professionally cleaned, then packed again and returned. More than 450 boxes. At least 40 stacked on every surface of the kitchen. The first thing I did after we walked in was I found an amplifier, my dad's amplifier, and got my dad's speakers set up. He bought them back in the 80s after his first real paycheck from IBM. They'd traveled with him his whole life. You need music to work. He taught me that. And those speakers, they mattered. I tuned into the current, his and my favorite radio station, and that felt like exactly the right first step. It was March 21st, 280 days since my parents were killed. We worked all day. We focused on the kitchen first so we could get it to a place where it felt good to cook in. 7 hours of unpacking before we called it. Alina took the car to pick up our dogs, some clothes, and a takeout pizza. And then we both did something we thought might take a very long time to be ready for. We spent the night. We just did it. We slept in the very bed we'd planned to fall asleep in on the night of June 14th, the bed we would have woken up in to celebrate Father's Day on the 15th. And somehow we both slept great, tucked away in the basement bedroom that had felt like a second home to us for years. Someone told me recently we tend to overestimate the emotions that are coming and underestimate our ability to cope. That has been proved true over and over again in my grief, never more than that night. The next morning, a Sunday, we met my sister, Sophie, for breakfast at Fat Nat's in Brooklyn Park, a Hortman family favorite. She drove by the house afterward, wasn't yet ready to go inside. She needed to keep her distance, and that's okay. We all do this differently. Since writing this, Sophie has decided she was ready and ripped off that Band-Aid. I'm so proud of her. I love you, sister. Back at the house, my friend Dylan came to help. We unpacked the living room, the sunroom, and half of my dad's office. 6 hours later, Dylan left, and I sank into the couch, exhausted. I gazed from the couch to the kitchen and saw not a single sign of the horrors that had taken place there. I had been unsure that this place could ever be this peaceful again, but it was, and I was at peace. And at the same time, completely overwhelmed. The anger bubbled up, misplaced at nothing specific, and everything all at once. A headache I couldn't shake, and we had made plans to spend the night, but I can't do that. So we left. What I understand now is that the peace of the house, of what my parents built and dreamed of, was overwhelming to actually feel. I needed to leave it, to take space and recover, to carry it. March 23rd was my birthday. I woke up in my relative's home, 30 minutes away from my childhood home, and I felt accomplished for the unpacking we'd done, the piece we'd put back together in that house. I felt happy. I had one goal, the same goal that I've had for 10 months, grieve more. For me, that day, it meant cooking a meal in the place I called my childhood home. We stopped at my favorite local butcher for a New York strip roast, got ingredients for a cake, and came back to the house. Music was playing in, and the sun was beaming in through double 2-story windows. It was bright and beautiful. For the first time in almost a year, It was beautiful. I lit the grill. The barbecue is my happy place. Adding charcoal, managing the heat, adding wood chips for smoke. My Aunt Sarah and friend Dylan came over, and then Alina's parents arrived. I'd invited them and hoped they would come, but it was a bit more of a drive, and I didn't expect them to come. I want to be honest about something. For a long time, I'd remove myself when I was around her family. I'd see a daughter with two parents who love her, and I don't have that anymore. The grief made it hard to be near. It's not that I didn't want them to love Alina. I just couldn't hold my grief and witness their love at the same time. But not that night. For the first time since June 14th, I longed to see them. My kiss on Alina's mother's cheek was genuine. My hugs were given with love, and I accepted the love I felt from them instead of pushing it away. I felt at home. When we eat birthday cake, I don't let anyone sing happy birthday, very much a Minnesota Hortman tradition. We just said, happy birthday, Colin, and that was exactly what I wanted to hear. There was the smell of good food and the sound of joy in that house, and I felt maybe for the first time just how much that moment mattered, how much more I still needed. I woke up the next morning feeling something I hadn't felt before. Healed, not totally. I'm not sure I'll ever feel fully healed, but different in a way I didn't have words for at first. I felt emotionally free and physically unable to move. My bones felt like they were made of lead. Sitting was uncomfortable. My hands rested on my legs, and I felt like my legs would be bruised when I lifted my hands back up. Like 9 months of weight had moved out of somewhere in my soul and into my body all at once. And my body was finally allowed to feel this. That heaviness, it got better over the next few days. And the freedom, I'm so happy to tell you that stayed. There's still something I haven't done. Rhubarb isn't in season right now, and for this pie, it has to be fresh. A bunch of Minnesotans, of course you get that. From my mom's garden or my grandparents' farm, there's no other way to make it right, so I'm waiting. But when the rhubarb comes in, I'm going to make her margarita with fresh squeezed limes. I'm going to pour his rye over frozen, unsweetened cherries. I'm going to bake that pie, and I'm going to sit at that table and feel whatever I feel. Not to get it back. I know I can't get it back, but to honor it. To sit inside it for a moment. To let it land. What I've learned, maybe the most important thing I've learned, is that when I listened to my heart and did the things it told me to do, I healed. The birthday dinner told me that. The lead in my bones told me that. We all process grief differently, but I think we all have a kitchen counter somewhere, a moment of ordinary love we're trying to find our way back to. The path usually feels harder, yet is simpler than we'd expect. It means doing the thing your heart has been telling you to do. Right now, my heart is battling with my head. My head tells me to heal, to take time to take care of my sister, my wife, my family. But my heart tells me that Sophie and I, unfortunately, are in a unique position. We are the only people in this country to have lost both of their parents in a political assassination. And that puts us somewhere we didn't ask to be, with the responsibility we didn't choose, to do something about the climate that made this possible, to lower the temperature so that nothing like this ever happens again, so that no one can ever relate to us. Please let me know if we are not changing the world fast enough. A line my mother wrote to my father on their 1-year anniversary. My mother believed public service was about connecting with people across differences. She listened and then she acted. My dad never held office, but his service shaped me just as much. As a scout leader, a football coach, at every swim meet, even the ones up in Canada, he told me once that he thought of himself as a public servant too, just in a different way. Both of my parents lived lives of service to each other, to their communities, and above all, to their family. Show up for your community. Stand up for your values. Treat others the way you'd want to be treated. That's the example they set. What has stunned me, especially in recent years, is how far our politics have drifted from those principles. I think we've all contributed to this shift. I've contributed to this shift. And social media and the algorithms have amplified it. We speak with anger, we post with animosity, we insult, we taunt, mock, and question the intelligence of people we don't agree with. Online, in our communities, and far too often at home. When we talk about others this way, it can feel abstract, like our words only exist on a screen, like the person we're talking about isn't a real human with the same depth of perspective as our own. For me, it's not abstract. It lives in my body, my mind, and my everyday life. I live with PTSD, I'm on medication, I'm in talk therapy, I do ART or accelerated resolution therapy, couples counseling, and I'm on I already said I'm on medication. I guess that's written twice. Honestly, it's been life-changing, and it's not something to be scared of. My ability to concentrate has changed. My ability to think through complex issues has changed. Why do you think I'm reading off a piece of paper? My ability to interpret tone, sometimes even with my wife sitting over there, has been compromised. I still struggle with panic attacks. I still cry unexpectedly. A single sentence or random object can pull me back into images I can't escape. I'm open about all of this because I think that when we choose to silence grief, we also silence empathy. Let's get back to the language. When someone is framed as a danger to survival or as fundamentally immoral, as an enemy, it invites fear. And fear, when repeated often enough, turns into permission. Permission to harass, permission to threaten, and eventually, permission to act. That is how powerful our words are. That is how our words become weapons. I'm standing here as the human cost of that shift. I'm not here to cast blame. I'm here to talk about what we can do differently. In my search for meaning, for how we got here and what we can do, I found something called the Dignity Index. The Dignity Index is a tool. It's an 8-point scale that measures whether our language recognizes the humanity of others or strips it away. It's not about ideology, it's about how we talk to and about one another. At the lowest levels, people are reduced to labels and enemies. At the highest levels, we criticize ideas firmly while still acknowledging the dignity of people who hold them. Dignity does not mean agreement. It means refusing to dehumanize. How many of you have been dehumanized, labeled as an existential threat? Illegals, maggots, libtards, homos. Some of you have used that language yourselves. I'm not here to litigate who started it. I'm here because I've seen where it ends. Show up for your community. Stand up for your values. Treat others the way you'd want to be treated. In some periods of my life, like the one I'm going through now, following that has taken everything I've got. My parents weren't perfect either. But like with everything, practice makes it a whole lot easier. The best tool I've found is a daily phrase exercise. You can find it at dignity.us. Each day you're given a quote, something from a public figure or a pop culture reference, and you rate it on the scale. It takes a minute, but what it does is retrain your ear. You start to hear when language is escalating fear, when it's flattening people into characters, and when it's actually inviting dialogue. Add it to your morning Wordle routine. Save it to your home screen. Bring it to your workplace. They have printouts. Share them. Use the index to rate your own words. Rate what you hear online, in the media, at your own table. See if it changes how you communicate. Not what you believe, but how you stand up for it. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. You'll start grading communication almost without thinking about it. And then you can model for others what it looks like to disagree without dehumanizing. The question I keep asking myself, my family and my friends, and now I'm asking you is this: how can we be a state, a country that both mourns and rebuilds, that disagrees without destroying, that compromises with dignity? My parents believed public service was about solving problems, not destroying other people. I'm here as their son, just trying to carry that legacy forward. I want to be honest with you about why I'm asking. I'm so afraid. I'm afraid that if we don't change something, more people will die. I'm afraid that the language we allow to persist in our politics will keep building permission in people who are already on edge. That's what I'm carrying when I stand here. Not anger, not blame, fear, and the hope that comes from believing that together we can do something about it. Because if words can raise temperatures to violence, we have to ask ourselves, what words will we use to cool them? Thank you.